Mr. Rahul Chaudhary. He's from Helion Advisors and he joined Helion Advisors in 2007 as a part of the investment team. Joining him are our panel members. Our first panel member, Mr. Vijay Thomas, managing partner and founder at Tangential. He's a speaker at many supply chain e-commerce events in Canada and USA. We also have Mr. Samarjit Singh, President Ecoslas. He's a veteran in the internet industry with 10 years of professional experience. Also joining them is Mr. Anand Lama, who's from Control S. He brings 20 years of experience of IT in the defense and private sector. At Control S, Anand is responsible for product innovation and business strategy and has been closely involved in evolving innovative solutions for specific requirements across verticals. We have Mr. Pawan Sundar, CEO from Unbox. He defines the roadmap for all technology and innovation at Unbox. And we have Ms. Sujata Balakrishnan, Managing Director of Valtech. And after her success with global brands, Sujata's current passion is to enable Indian brands with state-of-the-art digital platforms to compete at global benchmarks, leveraging Valtech's global expertise in user experience, digital marketing, and technology solutions. We have Mr. Ranjit Satyanath, who is the Senior General Manager at Shopperstock.com. He's responsible for IT operation of Shopperstock, Crossway bookstores, and e-commerce business. And we have Mr. Piyush Mathur, Product Manager at FiberLink, an IBM company, and also works extensively with clients in the e-commerce, retail, logistics space to help them leverage mobile technology to increase productivity, redefine business models, and reduce costs. Our final panel member, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Santanu Nabel is a solutions architect and technology evangelist with Amazon Web Services, who is responsible in educating companies with the service offerings of the AWS platform. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause please for our panel members for the next panel discussion.
Amar. Praveen.
Hello. So thanks. Large panel. We had to make it large because this is just after lunch. So first of all, thanks. Thanks for having all of us here. What we'll do, and this was a format. If it doesn't work, please let us know. That we thought we'll just spend a minute, each one of us just talking about more specifically as to what is the business that we are part of. And exactly what does it do for e-commerce companies. And maybe a few questions, and then spend maybe half of the time, asking questions from the audience that they want to get answered on the technology part. So maybe you can start with.
Hi everyone, welcome back after lunch. This is Piyush from FiberLink. We are an IBM company, and we are essentially in the business of mobility management. Now, what it translates to in the retail and e-commerce space is essentially for retail, we help organizations enable, mobile points of sale, enable, tablet-based kiosks, etc. In terms of e-commerce, we work a lot with on the logistics side of things, where we help organizations streamline their, logistics by enabling the field forces, be it delivery or sales guys, with the right technology on their mobile devices. And at an enterprise level, we solve a lot of the challenges like BYOD enablement, mobile data security.
Good afternoon, people. My name is Ranjit. I work at Shopperstock. Most of you here would be aware of the Shopperstock brand. We operate around 60 plus stores across India. We have one of the largest loyalty programs in India. 70+% of our revenues come out of this loyalty program. We have one of the largest Facebook presence and probably one of the most compelling social media presence for any retailer in India. We've started embarking on the online journey in 2008. We've been growing rapidly, but still miles more to go. And we recently, we've experimented a little bit with the technology that we deploy on e-commerce. We generally use best-of-breed technology platforms. We were on a SaaS model, and now we've migrated to an on-premise model. So pretty exciting journeys, and looking forward to this panel discussion.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Sujata Balakrishnan from Valtech India System Private Limited. Primarily, it's a French company. So we really work with quite a few Western great brands, which includes Louis Vuitton, Coach, Chanel, L'Oreal, Rolex. And we have implemented, as a global company, solutions for them, right from designing their digital marketing strategy up to solution on the e-commerce, which includes a span of selection of the e-commerce solution as either from bespoke development to selecting a partner like IBM or Hybris or ATG. And we also really help them in terms of doing adaptive responsive design into mobile and doing analytics and cloud computing like adaptivity. And we have been in presence in India for the last 14 years. And we also really work with, primarily the US and Europe vendors in the area of really looking out how we can do the conversion much better than the current level of operation by really doing the assessment and tell them like how beyond e-commerce solution we can really be part of it. So that's about it. We really see how we could really help you in Indian marketplace also to answer some of your questions which are really impending today to really know the answers. Thank you.
Good afternoon everyone. I'm Pawan from Unboxed. So I'll keep my introduction very crisp. We have a product called Unboxed Smart English Platform. The product basically helps retailers make more money. As simple as that. So, there's a caveat to this. You need to already be making some money so that we can help you make more money. So basically our product comes in, understands your users when they are browsing on your e-commerce site and helps them buy what they are looking for, which helps basically you sell better. We have a dashboard which you can make rules on them so that you can sell better. In total, you basically make a lot more selling over a period of time, and our platform basically understands your users, understands how your inventory is looking like and how the visibility of that inventory looks like for those users, and shows that to them and basically helps you sell better. We help you analyze what is it that you're doing, and we help you measure that and understand and basically iterate over what are the things you can do on that e-commerce site in view of what kind of products are visible to what kind of users.
Hi folks, good afternoon. My name is Shantanu, as was announced earlier. The challenge that I foresee before coming to a conference like this was, as soon as I said Amazon, most people by default assume I'm on the retail side of Amazon.com and Amazon.com. So I'm from the Amazon Web Services side of the business, which is cloud computing, term which is probably been used and overused and overabused and overhyped in the last 2 to 2.5 years in the country, but we provide services in the form of APIs over the web, and our philosophy is providing customers services which is anything and everything as a service, right from compute, storage, databases, applications to marketplaces and other things. And the last 3 years that I've been in the company, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of customers across the globe and thousands of customers in India. A lot of their e-commerce and our retail as well, enabling them to kind of accelerate their growth on our platform.
Hello everyone, I am Anil Nama from
we are an infrastructure provider. Primarily, we own the data centers in which both the proprietary as well as the cloud systems are deployed. And we have been witnessing a sea change in the retail industry in terms of its automation and the back office systems that are being hosted by us, both in the form of a cloud and in the form of the proprietary.
Hi, I'm Samar. We as Excella are a 360 retail and retail solution company. We fundamentally do technology, online marketing, and all the 90 yards of e-commerce. As an individual, I've worked for the last 13 years in the retail industry and founded Excella last 5 years back. So I have extensive experience in working on retail strategies. I think I would extend the introduction to say how potentially you can use me when you get into the question and answer session. I have complete knowledge of how a retail or a brand or a SMB migrates from starting his business to be a very large retailer and how technology can help or online marketing can help doing that. I've seen that entire phase in the last 13 years. So if you have any questions, I'll be able to answer.
Hello, my name is Vijay Thomas. I'm a partner at Tangentia. So Tangentia is a global boutique IT consulting and outsourcing company. So when you say global and boutique, it almost sounds like an oxymoron right there. But you know, we're trying to pull it off. Basically, we're global. We have operations in India. We have headquartered in Canada, and we have operations in the US as well. So you've got best of breed solutions, low cost geography. We've got all that good stuff that the big guys claim to have. At the same time, we have a more focused, dedicated approach to solutions, and our elevator pitch is we can do everything that Accenture can do for cheaper and better. So so that's our elevator pitch. But again, why are we here? We know e-commerce very well. Samar just stole my 360-degree e-commerce thing. We also do 360-degree e-commerce. So we, but more than anything else, what we do very well is enabling B2B. In some of the earlier sessions, we heard about a gentleman that the shoe company that had 500 orders a day. In a big global scenario, 500 orders a day is not a big thing. I mean, if you get 1,000 orders a day, 10,000 orders a day, right? That's when you need to have systems in place, processes in place that will manage that. Today, you might be able to do 500 orders a day by having a few people print labels, do something manually. But as volumes increase and the same company is going into multiple marketplaces, multiple retailers, it enables, and that's why we come in. We've been doing this for many companies globally, where a CPG company is connecting to, let's say, 25 retailers and 20 marketplaces, and having thousands of orders daily. So yeah, I'm more than willing to answer questions, and we're very aggressively quoting the Indian marketplace, and we think the time is right. As volumes increase, efficiency will be the need of the hour.
Hello. So thanks. To get started, what would be very helpful if you can, just by show of hands, tell people who are not currently e-commerce but want to get into e-commerce. Then, okay, I think we have good enough number of folks. So my first question is for folks from Valtech, Excella, and Vijay, you also. This is always a challenge, especially if you're not coming from a technology background and you want to get into a sector like e-commerce, as to what to do, right, around just technology itself, as to should I buy a platform, should I take a platform like Shopify on SaaS model, should I go to a large platform, should I go to SI? So can you just briefly just talk about how should people choose?
So primarily, I would like to really start with from retail. If you look at the topic, it is integrating retail with e-commerce. The fundamental question is that why do you really want to go for e-commerce? Is it really because of the peer pressure, or you really feel that you really want to achieve something out of this from business? Assuming that you are really doing great in your retail or brick and mortar store, if you have to really move into e-commerce, then at least fundamentally you have to ask 6 or 7 questions, which would really have reach percolation and your competitors, and then your branding and marketing, and top line review enhancement, and bottom line enhancement. So if you really know the answers for this, then you can really go into in terms of what time frame is suited for my organization to going for e-commerce. Then the readiness is very, very important from a perspective of as a company, as a back-end operation in terms of logistics, and also really look at all the people-related stuff in terms of whether we are really equipped as a matured organization to going for e-commerce. It's not just calling up a technical partner and say, can you really take this feature and then try to do shopping, booking, payment, checkout. That's not the way. There are a lot of ecosystem which has to be ready, and then also you need to really know what should be your next 3 to 6 years visioning in terms of roadmap. Is it that you really want to convert, or now on you're not going to open new stores, you really want to go in for e-commerce, and you want to see the conversion in next 3 years down the line from 10 to 30%. Most of the time, the conversion happens only in third or fourth year to the extent of 10 to 15%, not beyond that, even in reputed brand. So, some of the things we have to really put it in action in terms of whether we are going the right strategy. Then you will really know whether, as a small company, I can really go in for a solution as a bespoke solution, or a custom-built solution, or customized solution from a framework which is licensed or free or a SaaS model. So that kind of discussion will really happen. So first you need to know why we need, what do we need, and when do we need, and are we ready?
I normally will evaluate in a little different way. I would draw ambition on the y-axis. So let's say how ambitious are you about your digital play or e-commerce space. Let's say low ambition to high ambition. And I will draw capability on the x-axis, which is low as a capability, internal capability to handle technology, low capability and high capability. So if your ambition is low and your capabilities are low, I strongly suggest you go on a SaaS platform. Do not listen to a vendor like us, who's will try to make money out of you. It's not helpful. So that's the way it should be. If your ambition is, I just need one store, I should get a few orders, and your internal IT capabilities are weak, you should stay with a SaaS model now. If your ambition is high, but your capabilities are low, my suggestion is choose a very, very strong partner, potentially give them an equity in that business so that their neck is on the line in that respect. If you have very, very high capabilities as an internal IT team, a lot of large retailers have that, and your ambitions are large, I think then a bespoke solution where you make a custom build, or you take a large platform and use system integrators like us is a fantastic kind of approach. There also, I would say, the decision between bespoke, where you make a custom platform, versus choosing a larger platform, like let's say Hybris or ETG, will depend upon what kind of user experience you want to get. If your user experience is the biggest differentiator, you want to say, this is the way I want my consumers to be, I'm very sure none of the platform will suffice. You need to do a custom build at that point of time. Coming to the last one, where your capabilities are high, your ambitions are low, I think we're killing the opportunity. Just don't understand the opportunity. You need a consultant who can guide you, take you out and realize that how to build the opportunity. So that's one way I would use as a framework to evaluate where do I go and what do I do. And we've seen majority of clients like Big Bazaar or Expansion Group. In India, we have seen this. I think Vijay can have a perspective on the US market because that market seems to be not sure. There's a lot of consulting which is required in the initial period for companies to understand which quadrant and what they're doing. I would strongly invest companies to do that for first 3 months before they make the decision.
Yeah, kind of adding to some of Jean's point there, I mean, how many of you, you're still sleepy there, so what does the Nike ad say? Just do it, right? So, at this lowest level, today, SaaS, go to Shopify, PowerStore, anything, it probably takes 5 minutes to set up a store. So, just do it. I wouldn't spend, if you're starting off, try it out, you've got some things you want to sell, just go learn it, get your feet wet, get started. So that is the easiest way to get started. But as you go along, as somebody alluded, you want you have a unique customer experience. You might have outgrown the SaaS model. So then you go and look at some of the larger vendors. Obviously, nothing is free. There's no free lunch except probably here. You've got to pay the big bucks to get the real platform, the enterprise platforms, and at that level, you're talking IBM, ATG from Oracle or Hybris. So there's a couple of large platforms out there that have best of breed, that are being used today by large retailers globally, which transact millions of transactions, sometimes probably in a day. So in that sense, I think at the lowest level, all of those guys are you're okay with any SaaS platform. Choose the lowest level, and as you go along, you can increase your bandwidth or the amount you pay them.
I personally feel that just a little deviation from what Vijay said, I think a large brand or a large retailer has huge credibility at stake. So if that's the case and that's understood, I hope it is understood, then I do not recommend a SaaS platform because it can kill your credibility and you can kill the great opportunity which exists in the e-commerce world. Secondly, I think none of us alluded to the whole omni-channel part of the strategy. Where we're not only discussing that you go to the website and buy your stuff. I think there's a huge play which digital has in the store today using mobility, tablets, screen presence, which a large brand with a large footprint in stores can really leverage. We call it the T-commerce, whatever M-commerce, whatever commerce you want to call it. That's another piece which an enterprise class player can really help a brand or retailer with. Sorry.
Yeah, just one point that I wanted to add is, while you can just go and do it, do bear in mind that not everybody wears Nike. So the point here is you have to go in with your eyes open, and also bear in mind that if you want to do e-com, you do need to have a sense of appreciation for technology, because when you're getting into e-com, the way that you do business will change significantly, at least for the e-com channel. So you will have to incur costs on photographing your product. You will have to have additional bandwidth for having descriptive text about your product, about adding sizes, wash care instructions, so on and so forth. So there will be additional bandwidth which will be required. The technology piece is the simpler part of the puzzle to solve, but understanding and appreciating these aspects of the business is what one needs to bear in mind.
I guess. But that's what the 360 degrees, both Ixula as well as Tangential can take that over as well. We can do that part as well for you. Not just the technology, we can run your store, we can upload the images, we can do the catalog, we understand e-commerce. So in that sense, the two people on this panel here that can take that over right away.
Yeah, just one point to add to this discussion is when you are selecting the technology platform, I think that's one of the questions which was brought up. Since technology is changing pretty fast, so the solution you go ahead with, try and have minimum stickiness or as low as possible a switching cost with that. And that is where a SaaS model really helps out, because you can try small, if you like it, then go up, or if you don't like it, just move it out. But if you go ahead with a high investment initially, writing it off will always be a challenge for you.
Thanks. This is very useful. Pawan, I have one question. What you are doing is, I would say, slightly beyond just going on a plain SaaS platform, right? You are basically saying whatever platform you're running, can I strip out part of the functionality and provide that on a SaaS model? Can you just shed some light on how this particular space is played out, and maybe give us some examples of folks in US who are doing that?
I'll start out with a couple of examples. In India, if you are probably shopping, I'm pretty confident to say that every single person out here has been suggested a product when they have interacted with an e-commerce site here in India through one of our engines sitting on our cloud somewhere. No, having said that, coming to the question of, as a business, how important is it to build something on your own, and how important is it to use a technology solution which is already out there? Now, I can draw parallels to a simple thing that every e-commerce site uses. how many e-commerce sites build their own payment gateway, for instance? It's even if an e-commerce site has the engineering bandwidth and the skill to build it, it's really doesn't make sense to go and build all of that. The core business is to run the e-commerce business itself. Now that is one clear thing. Having said that, as somebody who is implementing search, navigation inside that e-commerce site, if somebody feels that we should do it internally and it makes more sense for us, think about this scenario where how much time and bandwidth and expertise could one possibly gain? I'm not talking of the likes of Amazon here, but all of the non-Amazon, eBay sites out there. How much expertise could one possibly build versus somebody who is going to build this expertise for the next 5 or 10 years? This is the big parallel that I can draw. Now, coming to the decision making itself, I would stress on one thing, is measurement. I'm very, very confident here that decision making is not very measurement driven. Are we taking decisions as businesses ourselves or as e-commerce businesses in the audience here? Are you taking decisions where, look, I have a particular component on my site, I'm seeing this percentage, I'm seeing some number here and say, okay, look, I need to focus on this clearly. Do you know about tools which can effectively measure? Do you know what tools are actually measuring it? Do you know if the measurement that you've done is accurate enough and the decision is actually accurate? So first you might want to invest in measuring to take the decision. Once you take the decision, like my fellow panelists pointed out, whether you go in for a license model, SaaS model, outsource model, a quick way to check if you have made the decision by again measuring is the right approach. So if you can get to that stage, like for instance, our customers, when we deploy our site search, the search box on e-commerce sites, 15% of one of our customers' entire transactions run from that site search. Once we put in, can that 15% conversion move ahead to 18%, 20%? Only if we hit that and show that measurement will people realize that value. So probably that is the right approach to looking at technology solutions and taking decisions about technology solutions.
Thanks. So just to make it more interesting, what I request is for each one of you to talk about one innovation that you've seen around technology in e-commerce. Just one innovation with an example. That I think will provide a good view to people on what all is happening out there.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Recently, if you've been following the news, I live in Toronto, Canada, and we had a very bad winter, and we had an ice storm, so there was no electricity for some time. So I wake up at 7:30 in the morning, there's no electricity. So what goes to your mind? I need to buy a generator. So I go to Google, I say generator, the first one that comes up, Home Depot. Now, I click that thing, it goes to homedepot.ca. It says the store only opens at 8 o'clock. It's 7:30. Okay, what do you do there? So 7:30, I can go check the closest store. I can see there's inventory in the store for the particular generator I'm looking at. I can buy the thing. Now I know at 8 o'clock if it opens, there's going to be people crowding the door wanting to get in and buy that. So unless I'm strong and big, and I'm not both of them, so I'm not going to get the generator. So I buy it online at 7:30 a.m. with pickup in store. I go in and at 8 o'clock after everyone's rushed through, I still have my generator sitting there. I pick it up and come back. So this is clearly, what I think, where the blends, there is no retail and there is no online, there is no e-commerce, it's one. Okay, so if people have to start thinking about, there is a customer, there is no e-commerce customer, there is no retail customer. There is a customer, and there was a customer for a generator, right? So that was like a big moment of truth for me, and I think that's what in retail, as we go along, as people will have to think of, you shouldn't have a channel. The channel is dead. The channel is customer. There's no online channel in a retail channel. It has to be one channel, and everything has to be focused that way.
In fact, I'm limited to the kind of work we have done. So we've done a project called Big Bazaar Direct. All of you would have heard about it. So I find it very interesting where a store like Big Bazaar is getting into tier 2 and tier 3 with a tablet being taken by the Kirana guy and the whole inventory of Big Bazaar being available to a person at his doorstep. I think a fantastic idea executed according to Indian conditions. Another interesting example would be a brand called Free Culture. It's an online-only brand. They've started opening offline stores now, but they only keep 15-20% of the assortment in the stores. But the rest of it is on a tap shop where you can browse and then you can collect it from the store or they send it to your home. So again, a very, very channel or inventory-led discussion. We're doing a store in the US. This is again an example of user experience. So when you go down to buy, let's say furniture, there is a chair, and you think that this color will not suit your hair. And there are two colors options available there. So there are technologies available where you can change the swatch, which is the texture, you can change the arms, you can change the floor color to match the floor color which your house has. You can take a picture of your home floor and put it on the background. You can take the color, you can change the color of the wall and see, and then finally take it by measurement and put it in your room before you buy it. So I think the power of technology is going ahead where what is not even available in a store, you can experience it online. Yes, obviously there are limitations, but you can't feel the texture. That remains. But I think technology is touching distribution, it's touching omnichannel retail, and it's even touching user experience in very large.
So, one example.
Okay, so my example, I am a service provider, I am not my example is very simple. We have seen a lot of collaboration coming between businesses. Earlier we used to see standalone systems in retail, nobody shared the data. Now we have people like credit risk advisories of iMarks. We even have a community cloud of mom and pop shops of 32,000 shops, which purely runs on Hadoop platform. And they do only two things. One is they do the analytics of the inventory in the store for consumption for line item, and they do a combined purchase as a community from their own sources. So these are the two back office operations that they have tried to collect. It is not front facing to the end customer. It's all collection of like-minded individuals who are using that model.
A couple of new examples I can think of, the Amazon.com story itself, right? A lot of customers or even prospects go around meeting them, ask me, how did Amazon.com, an online book seller, started off 18, 20 years ago when e-commerce was unknown, get into cloud computing, right? I mean, they're just almost two opposite sides of the spectrum. You can't think of a company doing online book selling and getting into cloud computing. So, unlike what the perception is in terms of Amazon being a retailer, right from day one, I believe, when I joined the company, this is what I understood. Amazon has been a fiercely technology company right from day one. Right? Obviously, it is e-commerce that you see is an end result of the technology, but there's been a series of technological innovations as part of the engineering team in the back end that you don't get to see, which has led Amazon.com to what it is today. Why it got into cloud computing was back in 1999-2000 when it was really in expansion mode fiercely. I guess two major challenges that it faced was similar to what most e-commerce companies today would face when you're in expansion mode. Scalability and agility. Scalability in terms of handling your seasonal peaks or your weekly peaks or whatever your peak cycles are for your business. And doing that easily without kind of predicting capacity beforehand. And second is agility of your systems. Be it your order management system, your fulfillment systems, content management, marketing platform, your ad campaign platform, etc. Integrating all of them and running them in efficient mode is easier said than done. So Jeff Bezos made this mandate of kind of running web services internally as a project to kind of make the scalability actually much efficient. And it turned into Amazon Web Services. And back in 2006, we kind of exposed it literally outside to kind of use the same platform that Amazon.com uses today in a series of services which you can access via API calls to form the cloud computing platform business, which is immensely satisfying. If you get to think about it, because being one of the largest online retailers in the world, using the systems that we do, we're also exposing the same technology, no difference, right? NoSQL as a service, our database as a service, search as a service, Hadoop as a service, Compute as a service, and so on and so forth. And basically give our customers, who could be e-commerce customers or otherwise, use the same very platform and have access to the same technologies on which our kind of code is essentially built. And that essentially leads to scalability and agility for our customers as well. Something about Hadoop as well, and analytics is probably something that all of us talk about, but in India I've seen very few customers really using that to through efficiency. Just to give an example, last time if you were reading the news, Jeff Bezos has actually filed a patent in Supreme Court to actually do pre-delivery of orders before customers are ordered by doing analytics. Still, the patent is still pending. So the way it works is because of the volumes in the US, if there are trucks out there in the road, and there's a particular area, let's say the New York area, a particular customer or a particular set of customers have ordered, let's say, Harry Potter Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, there's a good chance that Part 4 will be ordered by them. And so, doing the analytics and building the predictability, the trucks will actually carry the Series 4, Series 5, Series 6, deliver it at a doorstep, take cash on delivery, or even before the customer is ordered, knowing the likelihood of the customer. So those are kind of innovation that we see in our own space.
So, as a product, we did a very small feature addition, which I can now claim as an innovation. So, we saw that a lot of customers on e-commerce sites, our customers, were looking to buy shirts. Okay, Rahul, if you don't mind, can I ask how many of you have bought shirts online? Nice to know. So, how many of you have experienced this? When you search for shirts online, you've gone to the page where you like the shirt, but that size isn't available on the shirt you've liked, and you've gone on and checked other shirts simply because the size wasn't available. All of them. See, this is exactly what we did. We moved one of our customers' conversion rates from 1.8% to 2.6% simply by throwing in results. When people search for something like shirts, show results in the shirts which they have previously bought at a particular size. If it is available, only then try and show those results first. As simple as that. Now, this is what we call as personalized search. Now, this is a simple thing we did by understanding the affinity for a size for that particular customer and try and show him things that he or she is more likely to actually check and buy. So simple stuff like that, which helped out some of our customers.
And really do a social listening in terms of how it's going to be really good for you. So we did this level of detail for one of our customers where we could identify the persona creation and make the user experience very unique so that we could really consolidate the analytics piece from all the social media, including Facebook, LinkedIn, and blog. And this has given them a lot of insight in terms of how the product is really reaching the end user in the right perspective. And we could really see that after that, how they've improved the content and also the user experience.
Can you talk about innovation inside Shopify?
No, so I mean, while we have talked about innovation, I think one of the biggest innovation that the Indian retail industry has done, which possibly has not been done anywhere else in the world, is the cash on delivery. And I think we need to give ourselves a round of applause for just that innovation itself. We take it for granted so much and it drives so much of our revenue. But I would also like to touch upon one of the aspects of this whole digital effect on the brick and mortar stores. So what we will see in the months and years to come is this effect of digital on because people use their devices so often. Retailers will now be forced to bring digital into stores. So very soon you would see the emergence of the phygital, where physical meets digital, where things like you would see things like self-checkout. You would see things like somebody mentioned. You don't find your size at the store, but very soon you might have kiosks where you can pick up inventory from some other store and have it shipped to your residence. Or you could see things like digital receipts, digital coupons, instant rewarding of customers when you check into the store, so on and so forth.
Now, since we just covered on the topic of devices, another place which we have seen a lot of innovation from Flipkart, especially where we work with them, was really enabling the logistics side of the e-commerce business to be a lot more efficient. So they essentially did three things. They gave all the delivery guys an Android tablet. They locked it down to use a particular application which really helped them get immediate information about location, delivery, status, etc. The device was locked down to ensure that the device was not misused for any other things except that particular application. And they reduced all their data expenses really by having an expense management system on top of the devices to ensure that none of the data expenses really escalated. And the beauty of it was all this was done over the air without really the delivery boys having to come to the store to get things done every now and then. I think that was a really good thing which was done by Flipkart in the logistics side, and I think that's great because logistics continues to be a bugbear for most e-commerce things.
So we only have 18 minutes left, so maybe throw open the questions. Folks, you can raise your hand. Given there's so many of us, just point out to who specifically that question is for and keep it short and sweet. There are not enough questions, we'll again start the discussion.
No, there are enough questions, don't worry. I would like to ask the entire panel, while we talk of so many innovations, nobody's talking about mobile money or how can we transact using currency on our mobile phone. No innovations on that cards with such a big panel?
One specific
Okay, so with respect to the mobile money, all the service providers have the mobile money application in place, right from telco providers like Vodafone, Airtel, to people like Visa, people like the banks. The problem is like this, there is a security question in our minds. And I personally, even though I host 4 of those platforms, and I have subscribed to one of them, I have never used them on my own mobile. Primarily because they are more of a feature-rich applications. They don't work very well on the low-cost platforms, which means SMS-based platforms. They don't work very well. And if you see from the reach of the audience which can afford a feature-rich platform, which means devices greater than 10,000 rupees, do have the wherewithal in terms of the debit cards, credit cards, internet banking, to be able to access that media. The media that we intend to target as the people who are the lower category, which was thought to bring in this particular pool, somehow the application is not supporting those lower devices. And that is where the current challenge is. Yes, right from SWIFT, every society is working on such standards. The day we have a release of that standard is when we will be talking only about it.
Thank you.
Indian retailers or e-com players, if they really don't want to get into analytics, or is it a very big cost for anybody to get into Hadoop or any place where they can analyze the data?
No, I don't think there is resistance. In fact, there is enthusiasm for analytics. The problem is analytics is a very abused term. Everybody does analytics. Now, what I try to point out is, can we educate ourselves as to isolating what is it that we want to measure, and can we isolate the tools which will help us measure to make a decision? Everybody is very enthusiastic about it. The only issue is there is a lot of chaos and everybody does everything. So figuring out what is it that is needed to do, isolating it, is also part of the retailer's problem rather than people who provide analytics.
In fact, I have a view on it. I personally think that 80% of the companies are struggling with the hygiene issues. So they're sorting their hygiene issues. The rest of the 20% of the companies do not, a lot of them are not using it because they don't see an actionable item coming out of it. So there's a dearth of actionable analytics. But I think the top 5% of the companies are using it very, very heavily, and we know the names which are doing well because their conversion rates, their merchandising strategy, their SLAs on logistics clearly speak of it.
What is the cost factor? When you look at the cost, like to run an analytical program or to look at an output. So as you said, you might be knowing some companies. We have on panel Shopperstock, which is Ranjit here. What is the kind of cost to actually incur on your analytics? Because you guys have a great data, you have a lot of rich information about everybody, what they are buying next. So the kind of information you guys are running continuously and we are working on it. Beside the manpower, I'm talking about the pure technology part of it.
So Amit and I go back a long way. We meet on every conference, and he chooses this to ask me in front of 100 people. No, so yeah, we do run a very compelling analytics platform, and it all depends, right? So there are enough technology providers out there who can give you a number on how much it costs. So you can do analytics at the cost of millions of dollars, and you can do it for reasonable sums of money. It really depends upon what kind of analytics you want to do, what depth you want to go to. Google Analytics is available there free of cost. There are a lot of tools from the likes of Adobe and a host of others where you pay probably a few $100 to deploy. So it's really a question of what you want to do and
basically, I would suggest if you are doing it for the first time, you really work it out as a services model, where you really identify, primarily the measure is, why we do measure is to improve. If you just take the data and don't do anything, it's of no value. So you really identify what you want to measure and how it's going to impact your business or any parameter which is very, very important. Really look at more of services component, try it out for 1 or 2 campaign and see how it is resulting. Then you can really decide on what tool you have to permanently want to buy and install. That's my suggestion if you are doing it for the first time.
I think the question, and correct me if I'm wrong, and given the fact that you said he asks this question every meeting, is this a vendor versus retailer question? So you as a vendor are saying the Shopperstock is not showing you the analytics. He's not said that he's not doing it.
For me asking Shopperstock primarily is also let me also know the kind of cost, because Shopperstock has a fantastic data analytics. So fantastic they can.
No, he just said he has it. He already has it.
No, we are using it also. We are using it as a partner when we supply them certain merchandise, they give us that data. But yes, if I want to get myself for my own brand, for my own website, for my own stores, into the kind of data analytics what Shopperstock does, because I feel they are bored at the moment in India. That's what I feel. Okay. Yeah, so if I want to get into it, can I get into it? Is there a SaaS model for that? Is there a pay-by-use model there?
Yes.
So, Control has just spoke about that we have some 32,000 people. There is a data bank of it. Can somebody else be a part of it? Can we understand what is happening? What are the buying patterns? What is the behavior? That will help me to design my product line, which will be made for web or made for the store.
Sure. But even, see, there is also, in this business, there is also the vendor or the brand or the CPG company versus the retailer thing. So there is always, it's not all data is available to everybody. So obviously, it's their store, they run it, so they use some of it. But I understand your question. So yes, there's a lot of it available, SaaS model, even large companies like IBM has bought Core Metrics, T-Leaf, lot of analytics available, SaaS model, very high quality analytics available.
So I answer the question.
Because you spoke about it.
Yeah,
Suppose
sure.
from Amazon.
We actually have a platform which is Hadoop. So to answer your question, taking a step back, I guess we agree with them. We do see a lot of enthusiasm among the Indian retailers or even other providers to analytics. The challenge is they don't know how to start and how to go about doing it. Right? Two challenges. One is the learnability of the technology, which kind of runs the analytics. And second is how do you use the data, write code or do whatever you want, and know what you want from the data that you have. Right? We have taken a step to kind of mitigate the first challenge, which is providing a platform, which you could call a SaaS-like or otherwise in the form of a web services platform, which is completely pay-per-use. You can literally run a 15-node Hadoop cluster on us and pay about $20 for it, shut it down and stop paying for it if it doesn't succeed. Right? So we have a platform. I read somewhere, I don't know if this is true internally, Amazon's total revenue, the total sales that they do, I've read somewhere that about 28-30% of that is based purely on analytics. Right? That's huge. Even Amazon's going it. Right? But yeah, you will have to kind of go through several rounds of iterations. You can't just get your analytics data the first week and know, okay, this is my end result. It's kind of a moving target. Gradually learn what we do.
Regarding Hadoop, just in a short answer, I generally see your ads, trying to get people to learn Hadoop and get 15,000 rupees on Facebook. I've never seen you guys actually educating people that can you use Hadoop for your business, how it can benefit it. So in terms of analytics, I think you guys are not doing the right job what you need to educate the Indian people who are sitting there, the e-commerce players or the pure retail players. You guys are not doing it. You are just trying to get people trained. So it's a secondary thing. What I'm going to again come back to is we are getting a lot of benefit from people like Shopperstop, from people like Flipkart, from people like Myntra, where we do a lot of cross understanding of our consumer behavior, analytics and all. The only question is, I am a small player, I am a small brand in terms of what size Shopperstop has. Can I do something from Hadoop, through Hadoop, where I can use my own data and understand it much better? What understanding Ranjit gives me, because he's a CTO, he understands it, they have a huge team. I have a team of 4 people. Can they sit across and understand from Hadoop what is our customer behavior, what product is moving, what we can do? So I'm asking a simple service if there is available for a small e-com player, then it is helpful for us because we are here in retail to understand how we can make our business better.
But just one point. So how much of data your system is already generating? So when you're comparing it to a Flipkart or a Shopstop, they have IT layer or IT layer measurement at every aspect of their business. Whether it's their e-commerce website, whether it's POS, they've been monitoring the number of walk-ins in their store, the inventory management system, their warehousing management system. So if your entire consumer value chain is anyway covered, I think what the price which Shantanu is offering in terms of $20, then rest is the education part of it, which is where I think Amazon seems to be investing today because there are not enough people to use that platform and give you meaningful results. So I think if that structure starts building up, I think you can easily use it. Maybe Shantanu, you should speak for yourself.
Sir, to answer your question, there is no fixed price to this. Right? Analytics is an art. It can start with a campaign management of email at 5 paisa per email and go all the way. The maximum I have seen on my cloud platform is 650 rupees for an analysis of a single click. Right? Because that click means that cookie went into Facebook, wherever it all went, according to product. So the analytics is an art. It's not an Excel sheet of 2 into 4. You have to engage as per your requirement, as per your will and wish. If you come to the commoditized platforms like email campaign, SMS campaign, web analytics, they are fairly scattered rates. Even right for sending a SMS, receiving a SMS, opening of an email, all that you get a standard rate. But sooner you delve into the actions being taken, or what they were talking about, the pre-planning, what is the liable action by the customer, is where it delves into art. That is where is your confidence and the person who will do.
Shall we move on to the next question? There is a question in the back.
question saying that there is fragmentation of distribution channels, and how do we see the future evolving, because there is so much of fragmentation in the last 15 years. My understanding is that you further fragment, it become as niche as possible, and retailers and brands have to learn to cope up with it.
I don't think so. That's that simple as you said.
So, if it's a 30,000 feet answer, that's the answer. Do you think the ecosystem will evolve to give you tools and systems? Yes, India globally, everybody is very entrepreneurial, and there will be tools coming out. So I'll give an example. So if you go to the online world, one part is that you make your own website. But the big world which has evolved is the whole online MPOs, marketplaces, comparison shopping engines, flash-in websites. And you will see so many tools which are coming to manage all these distribution channels. I think Channel Advisor spoke in the morning, there's so many other tools to manage that. So as the industry will fragment, as the touch points will fragment, as the omni-channel will become prevalent, I think tools will also evolve to potentially support that. Everybody's in here to make money.
Yeah, but then when you look at technology, it's overexposed, it's over-abused also. So in that term, how does a retailer actually benefit?
So you're already making a judgment that technology is abused.
That's what is being spoken since morning.
Madam, to answer you, there is a technology known as AS2. I can tell you the common problem as a consumer. Even in my company, if I get a PO greater than 1 lakh rupees MRC, I ask for upfront payment. When I am setting up a business like he was talking about B2B, thousands of orders being processed per hour, there is a system which is known as GTI, which actually calibrates your goods, give them some identity, and does a lab testing, sampling on them, so that you know that input data is correct of them, and then the order is taken and given on a protocol known as AS2, right? In banking, you can say it is like our RTGS, NEFT kind of thing. So what happens is, all those who are member of the AS2 protocol will accept orders based on the electronic signature that is not mail SFTP, it is pure STTP. It's all web-based solution deployed world over. So once you have adopted AS2, which India nobody has, and then you start believing the GTIN numbers and their validity in terms of sampling. It means you have collaboration data, and you say that my supplier or the vendor community is not so bad. Is only when you can look at doing that distribution thing, right? Till such time, it's your belief on per customer, or my belief or for every 1 lakh MRC grade order on the amount that I get in advance.
Let me make it short and try and make you happy. The future is only going to get better. You'll be able to do things in a more simple way. You'll be able to do things and have more control on it, and you'll be able to do things and be able to measure it. As simple as that.
Any other questions?
Just to add, I mean, just in the future, this is not just technology, but I think, in India especially, an outsider view on people talk about the last mile and everything. I think the hidden gem that we have is last mile is India Post. India Post goes to every nook and corner of the country, and I think, if India as a country, as a collective, if we can find a way to utilize India Post, right? I think we will be leveraging an underutilized asset, and it would really add value to e-commerce. So if you ask me from a standpoint of e-commerce last mile, what is the big gains that we can have from not new investments but just leveraging underutilized assets? It will be India Post.
The only thing is that we should be ready with 30-day delivery and the item never getting delivered. So those are the risks.
No, in Canada it's the same thing. It's all union and everything, but when it came to survival, they're now delivering same day. So I think once it's a matter of survival. If nobody's going to subsidize them anymore, they will have to do it.
Amazon has done that, and the whole partnership with India Post has already announced. So let's see what happens.
Great. So I think we are run out of time. First of all, thanks to the audience for patiently listening to all the discussion you are having, and thanks to